Wow, ladies and gentlemen, what a amazing episode. Oh my god. I literally out loud went ho 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 at the ending. That was so good. I just love the atmosphere in this episode. I feel like when it comes to live action Star Wars, you notice there being less live action aliens because the costume and makeup design is expensive. You notice in animation they're way more lenient with the amount of aliens they have, and I think the same goes for sets. Like when it comes to the Mandalorian, they have sets that they can reuse, like Navarro, the interior of Mando's original ship, things like that they can use for multiple episodes, multiple different scenes. What made this episode so mind-blowing was just that they had the entire city of Sundari they had all these different areas of it that they used for only one shot or so. So I just have to admire the team behind it because the city looked awesome. And it was just for one episode. I thought that was really cool that they went through all that effort just for these badass shots to show the vastness and the emptiness of it. I love that. Just to talk about the highlights of the episode for me, I also have to say in the last review I did for chapter 17, I was kind of complaining about Mando's hard-on for the helmet thing, and after further just kind of letting it settle in, I think that Mando will eventually get over it, but I was talking to some friends and I understand that might not even be this season. I can't even formulate words, y'all. I just really, really love the character moments we get in here. Also, Grogu was amazing. This transformed how I think of him, because this whole time I haven't hated Grogu or anything, but he's always felt like, I guess, the damsel in distress Mando has to keep track of. And this episode really showed me how much more he's grown in his years with Luke Skywalker training. I think it was just so cool. I think people, when you view Star Wars as a whole, you get carried away in the amazing moments that legendary characters like Luke Skywalker does. That's a good thing. I love Luke Skywalker. Love him. But you also forget there's times, and what's so cool about little what ifs that you can watch on YouTube and stuff is like, imagine Luke Skywalker gets killed by Darth Vader in the trench run in A New Hope. And then there's like a what if you could watch on YouTube about what would have happened if Luke Skywalker was gone. The reason I mention that is because what was so cool about this episode was they take Mando out of the picture. And I know we think of Grogu as eventually he can become this legendary Jedi Master during or after the sequel trilogy. But it's moments like this where, like, if Grogu doesn't lock it in, he's dead. If he doesn't muster the Force and Force push away that, I think they're called Amalekites, those aliens, he's dead. And I think people, like, in the grand scheme of this season, when this season's over, people aren't even going to be thinking about, oh, one of the best scenes was when Grogu Force pushes that alien out of the way. But I just really like that scene. It doesn't require a bunch of words explaining it, but it's one of those times where, like, one of our characters that will be legendary, like, he genuinely dies there if he doesn't lock it in. And what was so cool about Grogu in this episode, not only has he been talking now, we've gotten little moments of Mando talking to him, and I don't know if I don't know if Grogu is speaking the language of his people, but Mando understands him, and you get to hear one side of the conversation, kind of like Han and Chewie. I thought that was really cool. Also, the return of R5 is cool. And snippets of Tatooine. So in one of my trailer reactions, I said that celebration with Mando and Grogu looking at all the fireworks was probably on Navarro. I was wrong. It was Tatooine. We don't get to see Boba Fett, but we get to hear a name drop, and we get to kind of see some teases of the Boonta Eve Classic, which is a big Outer Rim holiday. I appreciated that. I thought that was really cool because the Boons of Eve Classic is something mentioned in the Phantom Menace, and honestly, a bunch of media that I think is less consumed by Star Wars fans, the books and the comics kind of thing. Yeah, the Grogu scenes were awesome. And then speaking of that, honestly, I didn't even have the nitpick during season 2 of Bo-Katan looking bad, but her new wig is so much better that it's noticeable, and it just looks way better. Like, I didn't have a problem with season 2, but just her first scenes around the 23-minute mark in this episode when Grogu comes to her, and her facial expressions and the way her hair moves. I don't know, that might kind of sound dumb to y'all, but that's when I noticed, and I was like, wow, that looks way better. I also love, like I was ranting in my last review video, was annoyance with Din Djarin's character. Obviously, I think it would be better for his character development to be a slow burn. So, like I was telling y'all, I was talking with other people and, kind of coming to the realization that that is not going to be something resolved in this season. So, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. And another thing, y'all, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is one of my favorite games. Respawn went out of their way. They have some planets that fans are familiar with, but then they also had new planets they added, such as Bogano and Zepho, that you could explore a ton of. And what I loved about all those planets with Cal's special psychometry, you can scan things and learn about their past. And just what I think the team did such a good job at is lore wise. Like, you can go into the depths of Kashyyyk and find out how a stormtrooper survived the night there and then wrote a note that he was going to try to make it out the next day. And then if you go further down that passage, you just find a helmet with spider webs all around it. It's like, oh man, put two and two together. And then even the swamps of Dathomir, the heights of the tallest tree on Kashyyyk, just all these backwater, backwoods areas of the Star Wars galaxy. I loved so much being able to explore those, and that's why I'm so much looking forward to Jedi Survivor and playing that here on the channel. And I thought that this episode really correlated with that, of just going onto this, I don't know, Mandalore is like a backwater planet now, into the depths of it. Just, again, the vastness and the openness, the creepiness, the solitude of it. I loved all of that. And then that ending scene is wild. So Din started undressing and I was like, oh yo, we getting naked in front of Bo-Katan? No shot, right, Din, you player? But he doesn't get fully undressed and he starts to go down into the living waters of Mandalore, and then he gets pulled under and Bo-Katan saves him. And they, after all this time, I think I predicted it. Maybe I'll put subtitles on screen. I can't remember if I said this for sure in my theories from the trailer reaction videos. Pretty sure I did though, but like many of us have theorized, there is at least one mythosaur left. That is so freaking badass. That's so badass. And they used it so sparingly too, which honestly made it that much better. This cliffhanger hurts my soul. Just in all the dialogue between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin too, debating their different beliefs and how Bo-Katan doesn't agree with him. She doesn't think there's anything special about the living waters. She even talks about how her father just put on a show with Bo-Katan to make the other Mandalorian people happy. And he was proud, but it was also just a show of his daughter, the princess. But then you get to see how seriously Din Djarin is taking it too, when he's getting in the waters and he's reciting that prayer or that promise. That was so badass, and it sounded like he was committing to being the Mandalore. We also got to see Bo-Katan wielding the Darksaber. She wields it way easier than Din Djarin, which was pretty interesting. Going into this season, I heard a lot of bigger Star Wars YouTube channels saying, that there's going to be a rivalry and a fight between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, and that's certainly what Moff Gideon wanted to happen in Season 2's finale. And it still could happen, but they seem to come to a somewhat agree to disagree in the end of this episode. And then it ends with the Mythosaur. Will we get to see the Mandalorian tame a mythosaur and ride it into battle with the Darksaber and unite all the different clans? Maybe. Will the Armorer accept Bo-Katan and her people? No. I think the Armorer will die, y'all, at some point. She's too stubborn and too enveloped into her cultish beliefs to accept any other point of view. I think the Armorer will die. But yeah, y'all, this was an amazing episode. Any worries I had during the Chapter 17 review I did last week, they're pretty much all gone. They're pretty much all gone. And man, I'm just so excited. I'm thinking about reactions I've gotten from Star Wars. I think the Bad Batch Season 2 is good. It's made me smirk a couple times, maybe even laugh at some of the moments, but wow. This got a reaction out of me, like out loud, and that's good. It's good. And I've heard that there were reviews that that episode 12 of the Bad Batch Season 2 is the best episode in the season, so I'm going to be watching that in a minute. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to share your thoughts below. I would love to hear them. I just can't wait for episode 3. It's going to be so good. I hope it picks up right where it left off, and it's not like Mando and Bo-Katan back at her castle just talking about seeing a mythosaur. I'd be like, no, come on, man. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, hit the bell if you want to stay notified for Jedi Survivor in Chapter 19's review, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Peace out.